Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want to remind you this episode is brought to you by patrons alike, Ahigo Comics, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Nestor Flores, Sotosan0424, and Video Gamer 75. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it'll really help us out. Thanks for your support, everybody. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is time once again to talk about Star Wars Legion by Fantasy Flight Games. I feel like I just did this, but I didn't. So, Gen Con in-flight for FFG was last night. I said that kind of awkward, but it was. Anyway, if you want my full thoughts on that, check out that link in the description or in the end card to that video, because that's kind of like, I cover all the announcements. We're not going to do that today. And lots of other news about it, talk about some other stuff. So that video is already out. It's done pretty well comparatively, so check it out if you haven't already, guys. So we're not going to talk about any of the new announcements in this. In this one, no. In addition to the Clone Wars core set, which has basically been completely spoiled, which is why there's no video on it. Like, you guys have known for weeks what's in it if you were able to look, so there's just no real market in the discussion, unfortunately. But what there is hopefully a market for is spoilers for Shoretroopers and Dewbacks, because those are both available for pre-release at Gen Con, and some people have already bought them and unboxed them and taken pictures of their cards, which, because this is the internet, I have obtained pictures, and so I will talk about them, thanks to whoever's pictures these are. I claim no credit for these pictures, and if you claim that they're your pictures, whatever. Like, I accept that. So, yeah, that's basically what we're going to do. Also, there was an RRG update, which contains some interesting stuff. We're going to talk about that at the end. So stay tuned. There's some teasers for some of the newly announced stuff in there. Alrighty, well, let's jump into it and switch graphics. Alright, so in this first image, we have the Shoretroopers, their two upgrades, and their detachment, and then what other upgrades actually come in the pack. So we can see plainly that the Shoretroopers are 52 points for a trooper unit, a core unit, which consists of 4 minis normally. They have a red defense die, they have 1 health, 1 courage, sorry, that's the number, no surges, they are speed 2, they have Coordinate Emplacement Trooper, which is pretty normal after you issue an order to Emplacement Trooper at range 1. Because that is Emplacement Trooper, that works with both their mortar and their and the E-Webs, and any future Emplacement Troopers that come out. They also have Target 1 after you issued an order, gain 1 aim token, which is probably pretty good, because while they do have black dice, they have the T21 Blaster Rifle, which is range 1 to 3 and 1 black and unarmed. They don't have any surges, so a little bit of surety in there. So Shoretroopers are heavily leaning in on you issuing them orders one way or another, so there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with that to work with that. Otherwise, the base unit's pretty basic to talk about. They're 52 points, and while the Empire is definitely the more, shall we say, premium army, right? That's still a little bit costly. The core, that's 8 points more than a plain Stormtrooper squad, and 4 points more than Snowtroopers. So it's really on you to decide if the target and the black die on attack, but the loss of surge. Though I believe, I'd have to double check the dice, but I believe that 1 black die without surge is better than a white die with surge. They're either the same or the black is slightly better. And surge tokens are a thing now, so you can still possibly get these guys tokens to convert to surges later. And then, let's see, what else we got? Well, let's talk about their upgrades. They have a personnel slot, they have a heavy weapon slot, they have a training slot, they have a gear slot, and a grenade slot. The pack comes with another copy of environmental gear. I don't know if that's really the best one for it. The default for me is always recon intel, which I'm sure works really great for these guys. And then the training slots they come with are Overwatch and Endurance. I don't know if Endurance is what you want to do on these guys. Like, it's good, obviously, to have plenty of copies of that upgrade. Like I said, I don't know for sure. Overwatch is as good as any because they have a range 1 to 3 attack. So, like, that is a problem with standby normally, is that your standby range is normally 1 to 2. And you can see there that the Mortar Trooper has Sentinel already. So for 4 points, that's not a bad deal on Shoretroopers. That said, I think you want to keep Shoretroopers lean and mean. You don't want to get too excessive with them. But Overwatch is a good one. I don't know if you want to... With a 1 courage unit, I don't know if you want to go duck and cover. right? But they also aren't really well suited for like melee and stuff, so I don't think that tenacity works. Hunter, maybe? I don't know. It really depends on what you're going to use. If nothing else, putting nothing in the training slot or Overwatch works, because endurance is 6 points, and like I said, I don't know if you're actually getting enough out of these guys to do that. I mean, they do only have 1 courage, so it'll be pretty good to keep them cycling down, but still. Grenades, I don't know, really depends on what you're using them for. They have very minimal anti-armor, though, so I don't know, you might want to go with impact grenades, otherwise, do what you feel. So, the single Shoretrooper mini to go up to 5 guys is 13 points, and then the T21 Trooper, a personal favorite. Love that gun and love that guy. So this is 32 points. It's pretty sizable. It's a big chunk of your unit, but you add the targeting rifle mini. It's a range 1 to 4 weapon that's 2 black and 2 white with critical 1. So he's basically doubling your offensive cap. Like, you go from 4 possible hits per attack to 8 possible hits per attack. He's got a critical 1, so you do get 1 surge conversion in there. You do have a white die without surge, so that's those. Anybody who's played Z6s knows those 2 white dice are very swingy, but still, right? Like, those black dice with a critical 1, you're range 1 to 4. It's a very scary weapon, and we'll see if people feel like it's priced appropriately. So I'll say now about the Mortar Trooper. Also, I'm sorry, this image cuts off the price of the Mortar Trooper. If we speculate that it's about 10 points cheaper than the actual Shoretrooper's unit, much like the medium blaster is, it'll be about 42 points. But I think that, like, there's definitely something to be said for the investment. I think I said this with a lot of people were actually very down on the CM gun, where I was like, I don't know. I mean, if you're paying for a premium unit already, so we'll see. Like, here's the thing: CIS are about to hit. People are gonna have pre-release copies of the Clone Wars core set. Battle droids don't give a flip about snipers. Oh, 1 guy. I've got what is it, like 7 more, and I still have half my list left. So I've got 6 activations of these guys, 8 men deep. And I can't be suppressed. I can be panicked, but I can't be suppressed. I don't exactly, like, they don't care. So if you want to take those guys out, chip damage like DLTs, like snipers, does nothing. You're gonna want big dice pools like Z6s, like the T21B type thing. Spray weapons, of course, completely fuck them over. But you're gonna want bigger pools where you can get more hits, so that you can actually take out a decent chunk of them at a time. So, I don't know. Like, I think overall, like I said, if you're paying for the premium, the 13 points to get a 5th guy is not bad. You almost always want to go with a 5th guy, unless you're doing something else with the unit. Like, you could go for, to ensure that they're getting orders, maybe, you could go for a comms guy so you can equip, like, HQ uplink or something. So on and so forth. If you're concerned about them using them as a frontline unit, you could attach an officer to them for a little bit more expense. There's a couple different things that you can do. Like I said, I don't know. The Empire's a premium army. The T21 guy, T21B, I should say, because the Core 21 is a slightly different gun. He is expensive, but the question is, it might be worth it in the future. Just saying. So also, very quickly, let's touch on the Mortar. They're a 1 mini unit. They are a core unit, which is the other thing, which is so that if you're probably not bringing 6 Shoretroopers, right? If you were to do an all Shoretrooper army, you'd bring 3 of them and 3 mortars, because you can only attach 1 detachment per unit card, if I remember my RRG correctly. So the Mortar is a core unit. They're an emplacement trooper. They have 3 health, 2 courage. Kind of makes sense for a bit of a glom together unit. They have a red defense die. They're only speed 1, no surges. They have detachment Shoretrooper. They have the fire support rule, so, they can shoot when it's not their turn. They can full pivot, so when you pivot, you can pivot 360. They can reposition, so after you take a move, you get a free pivot action. And Sentinel, your standby range is range 1 to 3. They have unarmed, so they can actually punch. Getting into melee is not necessarily, perfect for them, though I will say that they only have 1 die in it. They also have the single die for the E22 Blaster Rifle, so they can shoot a little bit. God forbid, that's not cumbersome, if you need them to take a shot. And then they have the DF90 Mortar. So this is slightly different than the AT-ST version, even though the dice are the same. I believe they're meant to be the same model of mortar. It's probably just that this firing... It's named differently, and this firing mode is treated a little bit differently because it's an emplacement, not vehicle-mounted. With it, you get Critical 1, which explains why they don't have any surge. You get Cumbersome, it is suppressive and it is fixed front. And it's range 3 to 4, 3 white dice. Little surprised it's not like 4+, but I guess this keeps it more on a battlefield-type scale, right? Like, you're actually engaging with them. 3 to 4 is a pretty good range for fire support. With that, it adds Critical 1 to the dice pool, because that's how that works. If you're actually running like a wombo combo of T21B, Shoretroopers, and Mortar Troopers, that means if you proc their fire support, you're rolling globs full of dice with like Critical 2 and Suppressive. So that will definitely give you an opportunity to chew through big blobs of infantry, which may be about to be a thing. Otherwise, I don't know. I mean, it seems decent. Like I said, I can't see the exact cost here. I'm sure it's, like I said, around the 10-point cheaper mark. The, max 3 damage, Critical 1, though. You do have a pseudo-surge on it. It is cumbersome, though, so you gotta worry about that sort of thing. Suppressive is good, though. The range is alright. Like, 3 to 4 is a very good range bracket, and you do have a blaster rifle, so, like, it's not like you're entirely helpless if enemies start to run up on you, and because of Coordinate, you're probably operating these guys in teams. You're operating them in teams close to your Shoretroopers, and basically the way I see it is either you put them in position and so that next turn you can fire support, and basically you give them an order token, or you're probably like move, speed 1 run. Let me start over. Okay, so either you're doing this on kind of like an off again, on again turn, like kind of I think we discussed with the I feel like we discussed that with the medium blaster turret, where it's like, okay, turn 1, double move 1, get a free reposition, full pivot, you're locked in. For next turn, face up order token with, like, I think they have a comm slot, so that'll be like HQ uplink, or you coordinate to them. Boom, you're in my zone of fire. I will now throw a big dice pool at you. Or you're like 1 speed, 1 move, reposition, full pivot, Overwatch, boom, Sentinel. Get inside my range 3, I'm gonna throw 3 dice at you, suppressive, in the middle of your movement. Get wrecked. Again, we'll see how they take off, I think. I like the idea a lot. I personally would run lots of them, but I'm not like a cutting-edge competitive type player. I like the concept a little. I think there's some interesting decisions with like the how they slightly change the stats for this, though they make sense. It's very interesting. They're a very premium unit, but like I said, I don't think you're not running, a full... Excuse me, I yawn. You're not running a full spectra of these guys, right? Like, you're probably not going to go for 6 Shoretroopers. At least not if you're like, if you are not like you're doing this, I'm just doing this for funsies. I like critical. Okay, so that's Shoretroopers. Let's talk about that Dewback stuff. So, no clean shot of the new Dewback card. A little disappointed, but there are some shots of the upgrades, the arsenals. And we do have a pretty clean look at the card as it was. So to remind everybody, it's a 90-point support unit at 1 mini. You've got a red defense die. You've got 6 health, 2 courage, surge to hit, no defensive surge. Pretty sure, because, you got a red... you're only speed 1, but you do have spur, so you can increase your max speed by 1 by gaining 1 suppression token. They are unhindered, so you ignore the effects of... difficult terrain. They have reposition so they can free pivot. They have relentless so you can form a ranged or melee attack after moving, and they have armor 1. So your first hit while defending is canceled automatically. So with 6 health, red defense die, and armor 1, they're pretty chunky, which is good because they don't get cover from suppression. And being quite a tall unit, there are going to be some pieces of cover that don't offer them cover. But they get training upgrades, they get comms upgrades, and they get shootman upgrades, arsenal. And by default, they have Razor Claws and Shock Prod, which is a melee attack, which is 3 red dice and 3 white dice, which is critical to and suppressive, which is terrifying, because these guys are kind of like vehicles and they don't necessarily force engagement. They don't have to have the new disengage keyword. So the fact that these guys can double move, at least one of which can be spurred, and heck, you can spur both of them. You can take the 2 suppression. You don't have to worry about that. They've got a training slot. You can slap endurance on there. Which, by the way, with spur, I think endurance is definitely what you want to consider for these guys. Not so much like with the Tauntaun thing, because like with Tauntauns, I was like, you want endurance because you might panic and run off the board. With Dewback, it's like, no, you're going to be dropping spur a lot, guys. You're going to want endurance to pull that off you at a regular basis. But just default naked at 90 points, you can have these guys do a very scary attack, right? Like, they can run up, they slap a suppression token on you in melee. You're in melee, so which affects you, not them. They've got 3 red dice with surge hit, so that's 3 hits you're basically guaranteed. And critical too, so 2 of those surges that are rolled could be crits instead, so you can't spend dodge tokens and they beat armor and all that other stuff. And then they've got up to maximum of 6 with those white dice. Like, theoretically, a Dewback rider could roll up to an army of rebel troopers or stormtroopers or clone troopers and just, oh, you're all dead now. You're all just shredded. Goodbye. So that's pretty scary. 90 points. They're a little bit slow, a little bit heavy. They're big chunky. They're the big chunkus. But, oh lord, he coming. So let's talk about those upgrades, which you've been able to see on screen. So the arsenal upgrades are pretty neato. So let's start at the cheapest. The T21 Blaster Rifle is a heavy blaster rifle, heavy repeating blaster. This is only 10 points for a range 1 to 3 attack, which is also critical 2, which is 4 white dice. I'd have to do my math, but with critical 2 and already surge hit, for 10 points to just have a ranged option, I am pretty sure you are always doing at least this, probably. Like, this is your budget option. You're always going to want to block out 100 points so that you can slap this on a T21, right? Slap this on a Dewback. Because, like, ideally, you can charge up. You can double rush up and just smash them with spur or something, and you completely ruin their whole goddamn day. But maybe you can't make it that far. Range 1 to 3, 4 white dice, sorry. A fairly decent chance to hit them with critical 2 in your native surges. You know, you'll get some correction, and you can even get, like I said, crits out of it. So, you got an okay chance of doing a couple hits. It's good for sketching out there. It projects your range. That said, if you have room, consider the humble RT-97C blaster, which is range 1 to 4, of course, and is 1 red and 3 white dice. So this doesn't have the critical 2. So there's no pseudo anti-armor, no dodges, no pseudo high velocity, right? Or sharpshooter. Like, critical is, the advantage of critical is that it lets you get native crits, basically because it's during your surge conversion step, so you can avoid stuff like cover, dodges. You can't block shields, but you can also, it also doubles as impact, right? You can get rid of armor. So it's not as consistent as any of those on their own, but it gives you a soft opportunity to do that. The RT-97C, none of that. None of that conversion. It's only, but it is range 1 to 4, so you get an extra range. You may be able to shoot at guys outside, and it has the red die, and you have offensive surge, so that's basically, an almost entirely guaranteed hit. There's a 1 in 8 chance you get a whiff on that die. And then you got 3 more white dice, which maybe you do. So, like I said, I don't know if you've got the points. You may want to upgrade for that extra range and that guarantee. But, as we've just discussed, chip damage may not be the future. So, it's a thing to think about. I think they're very balanced, though. Like, the extra range and the extra solidarity of the die is worth the extra 5 points if you need them. And then, entirely knowing how this game works, the CR-24 Flame Rifle guy, he's a full 20 points. So he's a little bit expensive, but it's a range 1 weapon, which, keeping in mind these guys are relentless, so, like, God, can you imagine, relentless, or, it would have to be relentless, I guess, on ATRTs, ooh, so, these big boys, they get a black and a white for every mini in the pool, with their offensive surge, so that's pretty scary, and this is 20 points for a blast spray weapon, right? Let me actually directly compare that, because I know ATRTs, they're kind of coming back, but they weren't for a while, so let me actually do a direct comparison to the flamethrower. Yeah, so, this is technically cheaper. It's 5 points less than that, but it's not fixed front, and it drops a die type. But remember, like I said, these boys have Relentless and Spur. So, yeah, overall, despite the cheaper cost, I think the unit overall might be in a better place than ATRTs. You know what I'm saying? Because, yes, it does cost you 20 points. I don't know necessarily, like I said, the Empire... I've said this before. Empire's a premium army. I don't know if you have room in your list for 3 of these boys. But maybe 1 or 2, and like I said, with Spur, Relentless, and all this stuff, ugh. Like, everybody just think how gross your snowtroopers are, and imagine if they could choose to go speed 2, if they really felt like it, and so on. And also, they had extra dice in their flamethrowers. Oh, and it's real brutal. It's a real brutal option that the Empire's going to love, and I think you're going to see people who are going to try and make flame rifles work, regardless of whether or not it's cost-effective. But I think that's about everything about the Dewbacks. I don't think we know exactly... I didn't see any images about what's exactly in the upgrades, but if we presume it's a rough mirror of the Tauntauns, that'll be like... I believe Tauntauns came with jammers? Let me double check. By the way, I believe that... I don't know if I've seen an official announcement there, but I believe today should be the official street date for Tauntaun Riders and Rebel Vets. Let me see what's in the unit expansion. So they have Endurance, Tenacity, and Comms Jammer, so I'm fairly certain that that's the one. Tenacity is probably a decent pick on these, if you're definitely going the melee, but like I said, you probably want Endurance just for the safety. And then, you could take Comms Jammer if you like, I don't know if you want to. These guys don't cover as much ground as the Tauntaun Riders, but big boys are hitters. Alright, let's talk about that ROG stuff. So, the other thing is that today, the Rules Reference Guide updated, which is tentatively scheduled for early September, since it includes lots of new Clone Wars stuff. It's probably when the Clone Wars course coming out. Sorry, my voice was a little scratchy there, even though I just took a drink of water. So we've got a lot of new instances which are in here. Most of them you should know some of the same stuff already, but we'll skim over some of it. And there's a little teasy bop wonder in there for you if you haven't seen it already. It's the image that we're using for this right away. So there's some clarification on game effect and card effects. There's some clarification on the factions, like Separatists are dark side, Republic is light side. There's occasional notes about vehicles and cover and barricades and stuff, because like the Droidekas are in fact ground vehicles. I know there was some speculation there, but they are counted as ground vehicles. So there had to be some rewording of some stuff. There's a note in Agile that if you perform a standard move during deployment phase, such as by using Scout, you gain dodge tokens still, so that's neato. They clarified AI action, which is basically during the perform action step, if you don't have a face of order token, you must perform one of the actions. It can be either action that's listed. If an action is not possible, you can perform actions as normal. So your droids don't have to shoot if they don't. And my fear about Droideka is also not in there, because it just says move. It doesn't say standard move or anything, so theoretically, if you were, like, not on target with a Droideka, you didn't have to do, like, a complete full move. You could just pivot and shoot if they don't have order tokens. So that's a little bit better. Let's scroll through. There's a note in Arsenal that you don't have to use the same weapon type if they're listed multiple times. It's probably for Grievous. There's some notes about barricades and base contact. The new block keyword is added, which is basically how it's deflect but not. There's a new action, calculate odds. Huh, funny about that. We'll talk about that in a second. So the official notes for Clone Trooper are in. Basically, Clone Troopers are all the regular rules for Troopers, but they can spend green tokens of a friendly unit at range 1 and line of sight as if they were own, and then it lists what the green tokens are. It's aim, dodge, standby, and surge. So, yes, you can spend standby tokens. That's kind of weird, but fun. Scrolling still. We have a new unit card type thing. Counterpart. So, I mean, you're looking at the image right now. C-3PO is a counterpart to R2-D2. And basically what this works is that the non-counterpart mini is always the unit leader. So R2, in this case, is always the unit leader. And basically, it's like an upgrade card, but a unit card. So basically, you attach this unit card with these actions and weapons and whatnot to your original unit, right? And then they must be deployed with them, and, you know, all that other stuff. But they have their health value, they have the rank, defense die, courage, etc. of the unit card. Combined unit has the keywords of both cards. If all counterparts are defeated, the combined unit loses the counterpart keywords. You can only use the weapons shown on your card and blah, blah, blah. It's very interesting. It doesn't necessarily say that they have to be in cohesion, but they are a combined unit, so I don't know. Maybe we'll see some more stuff. But that's fun. We'll talk about what we can see on C3PO in a second once I scroll through the rest of these. Danger Sense has been edited when you defend against an attack, period. It includes ranged and melee, so it's been upgraded. It was ranged before, I believe. But I guess they decided it wasn't game-breaking that it also applied to melee. We got new notes on what Disengage does. Basically, you can perform moving units as normal. You don't have to when you're engaged, so you can leave for free. Distract is a new unit keyword. We'll talk about that. So Droid Troopers, this is a pretty important one. There are a lot of little notes here and there that add Droid Trooper clarifications to everything. So Droid Trooper is a type of unit. Anything that applies to Troopers applies to Droid Troopers. Droid Troopers count as Trooper units except for the following exceptions, which I believe have all been spoiled before, but we'll cover them anyway. A Droid Trooper does not improve its cover while it has suppression tokens. A droid unit cannot be suppressed, though it can still panic. It cannot resolve or gain poison tokens. And a Droid Trooper unit counts as a vehicle while resolving ion tokens. That's right, you can in fact ionize Droid Troopers, which is good. Might actually make ion more worth it, because there's going to be a lot of these big boys out there. And then let's see, there's some notes about Entourage, some notes about the factions. I'm just scrolling looking for blue text really quick. There's a new generator keyword that's on Droidicas. There's a new grounded keyword, which is not shown anywhere, but it's R2-D2. That's a unit that cannot climb or clamber, period. So R2-D2 is ruined by stairs. There's the immune deflect keyword, which is basically the attacking unit cannot suffer wounds due to the defending unit using deflect or Soresu Mastery. The unit can still gain the other benefits of deflect or Soresu Mastery. So you still get your surge conversions, you just can't bounce them back. There's a new unit keyword, Inconspicuous. So basically, if the Inconspicuous unit has at least one suppression token, when an enemy unit performs an attack, it must target another unit if able. And you don't have to remove suppression when you rally. So notes about Ion tokens and Ion X with Droid Troopers. Spoilers, there's also notes in Treat and Repair about Droid Troopers. Droid Troopers can be repaired, they cannot be treated. Which is very interesting. So, yeah, keep that in mind for future stuff. There's a new Jedi Hunter keyword. Doesn't have to have an upgrade equipped, it just have to have the icon. We have a preview of what Count Dooku's going to do, because the Makashi Mastery keyword is in this, but basically when you're performing an attack with Makashi Mastery, a melee attack I should say, you can reduce your Pierce value by 1. If you do, the defender cannot use Immune Pierce or Impervious. So basically, say for instance he's got like Pierce 2 on his lightsaber, you could say, I'm gonna only be Pierce 1 for this, but you cannot use Immune Pierce or Impervious. Interesting, very interesting. I don't think there's been any real changes to any like orders, blah blah blah. So it's not described, but Poison X as a weapon keyword is now, and which is basically that's pretty neato. I'm sure that's coming with the CIS, because war crimes, what are those? So basically, Poison X keyword forces an enemy to gain poison tokens. A non-droid trooper unit that suffers wounds after defending gains X poison tokens. Vehicles and droid troopers cannot gain poison tokens. And we already know what poison tokens do. There's a lot to do with Repair, which is basically updating it for droid troopers. There's a new unit keyword, Scale. This is on at least Mr. Spookums himself, the Grievous. He's a spooky skeleton man. So basically, anytime you would perform a move with Scale, it's like Reposition. Anytime you would perform a move with Scale, you can perform a free clamber or free clamber action before or after moving. Scale can trigger off standard moves, climbs, clambers, and disembarks, so you can double climb, double clamber, disembark, and climb. Unit with a Scale keyword can combine clambers to move up to a distance of height 2, so normally you can only clamber at height 1. It does not reduce its... When you perform a move, you don't reduce your speed for difficult terrain, so it's got Expert Climber and Unhindered in there. You cannot scale after withdrawing. You can use Scale multiple times during the same activation, and if you're panicked, you must scale. There is definition of Scatter, so I was wrong. I think I said this before. But Scatter does let you cohere those units. Basically, you readjust all the non-leader units as if as if they had just moved. So it lets you recohere them. Like I said, I'm kind of like it makes sense for that to be the Scatter effect, but I'm like, as a weapon keyword, it's kind of weird. Also, hey, here's a great keyword. I assume this is probably like on Rex, but who knows who else it is on? Scouting Party. X, unit keyword. The Scouting Party keyword means that when you perform a move using the Scout keyword, you can choose up to X friendly trooper units at range 1 to 2 that have not performed a Scout move, and they get to perform a Scout move. This is great. I love this. So basically, you don't need to glue recon intel to everybody. You can just deploy them near a unit leader who gets to scoot and then drag everybody with him. That's great. I love it. Scout X is the same. Also, so hey, everybody's like, man, it really sucks. Rebels don't have bounty. Well, now they have a new thing. Secret mission, unit keyword. Once per game is a free card action. A unit with the secret mission keyword can place 1 victory token on their card if they are within an enemy deployment zone. At the end of the game, if you have the victory token and are not defeated, the player controls that unit gains 1 victory token. If the unit with the bounty keyword defeats a unit that has a victory token with secret mission, they take that token, but each unit with bounty cannot cause a player to gain any more than 1 victory token, so don't double up. When playing a unit with scenario battle cards, such as Down AT-ST, you cannot use secret mission. So hey, this is probably on R2-D2, because he will almost assuredly have grounded and inconspicuous, and we'll talk about what C-3PO does in a second. Like I said, you can look at them all right here, but I'll discuss them, my thoughts in a second. So hey, here it is. Here's the Rebel version. I know some people are like, oh man, it kind of sucks that Jyn doesn't... remember, we have just released doubled up of Luke and Vader as operatives. It's entirely possible they might decide to release a new version of Jyn that is an operative that is secret mission focused, like less on her like leading the mission and more like her in some of the other parts of Rogue One where she's like acting out on her own and stuff, doing things, talking to people. And with the new counterpart rules, you could also do other stuff, like theoretically you could do operative Jyn, or don't even make her as a unit card, make her as like a counterpart to Cassian. You could do a Cassian operative and then counterpart Jyn, and then collectively they would gain unit keywords. Counterparts is going to be a very interesting rule, guys. Don't ignore that. That's a very interesting mechanic we've just added, right? The fact that you can have non-unit unit cards as basically pseudo upgrades. Smoke tokens are new, so there's a smoke keyword and there are smoke tokens. So smoke tokens, if you were within range 1, not outside of the smoke token, you improve their cover by 1. This is going to be, so I think smoke's going to be pretty important to units. Well, overall, it's great. I love it. I want to smoke everything. Smoke every day. But most importantly, by the way, YouTube, that's not a drug reference. It is a joke tangentially related to drug use, but more I'm talking about smoke grenades. Because I love them. Pop smoke. So basically, they're removed at the end of the round if you're within range 1, but that also means that your cover the enemy's cover is increased by 1 if you're shooting. Every mini must be entirely within range 1, a vehicle does not improve cover, and either way, they return to the supply. But for units like creatures, because creature troopers are not vehicles, this is great to give them cover because they don't get it from suppression. And then there's the Smoke X unit keyword, which is basically this unit can drop smoke tokens. We have a description of Soresu Mastery and lots of stuff that it does, if you didn't know that already. That's Obi-Wan's special thing. There's the whole thing on Surge tokens. There's notes in Treat X, like I said, about this, that, and the other thing. There's a new Versatile keyword, which is basically you can perform versatile attacks even while engaged. If the weapon with a versatile keyword does not also have a melee weapon icon, it can't be used. If it has both, it can be used to perform either. And then there's some discussion of wheel mode. And that's it. So, let's talk about C-3PO. So, C-3PO, Human Cyborg Relations, he's a unique counterpart card. He's 15 points on his own. He adds 2 wounds, so he's a little bit tougher than a trooper. He has only 1 weapon. He has a melee clumsy kick for 1 white. This is adorable. I'm assuming that means that R2 is going to have his shock prod, which is going to be hilarious. Hopefully that's like 1 white or 1 black with suppressive. So he's got counterpoint R2-D2. He must be added to an R2-D2 unit. This is also the Rebel version, though the Escape Pod pack says it'll come with both Rebel and Republic. Maybe they'll have slightly different sculpts. Well, no, they want to have slightly different sculpts. Maybe they'll have slightly different art, I guess. And then he has 2 actions. So he's got the card action, Calculate Odds, which we mentioned before. Choose a friendly trooper at range 1 in line of sight. You can choose yourself. It mentions in the ROG. That target gains 1 aim, 1 dodge, but also 1 suppression token. which is perfectly thematic. C-3PO will be like, oh, blah, 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 answer this, blah, 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 blah. So him blabbering at you is very stressful, but you get an aim and a dodge token out of it. And keeping in mind the way Inconspicuous, which is going to be, we're pretty sure going to be an R2-D2 works, you know, you can choose it. But also, as a free card action, you have Distract. Choose an enemy trooper at range 1 to 2 in line of sight. Until the end of the round, you lose Inconspicuous, and while that unit performs an attack, it must attack you if able. So, nominally, I think you're going to do the R2-C3PO combo as, like, a soft buff, right? Like, R2's going to have Secret Mission, probably, but C3PO, you're going to have him falling around guys, dropping calculate odds on them, right? Like, you're gonna use him similar to how you might use a Leia or Veers to, like, give tokens if you need them. And some units are not averse to a suppression token either. And then with Inconspicuous, it's a bit like the non-combatant keyword, where it's like you can, during certain circumstances, those units can't be shot right away. But you can also use him as a taunt tank and basically be like, similar to Luke's new ability, I Am a Jedi, that comes in his operative pack. You can be like, no, you have to focus your attacks elsewhere. Everybody knows that forcing attacks is a very powerful move, so Distract, C-3PO yells, hey, over here, hey! And then the Jawas blast him. Or the Stormtroopers, or whatever. And unfortunately, it really sucks for him, because he's only got 2 wounds, and I'm sure... well, I don't know, R2 might have a red defense die, but he's probably not super resilient. But still, it's an attack that your opponent has basically wasted, and it's a free action you can take. So you can move them into range, you can pop a calculate odds, and then you can be like, also, you're not shooting at that guy, you're shooting at me right now. It's very interesting. Like I said, counterparts, I don't think detachments are going to be really game-breaking. Like, detachments is basically kind of like a little bit like Entourage. Counterparts are very interesting. There's so much you can do with this. Another counterpart example might be, for instance, I mentioned Cassian, you could do a Jin counterpart. You could do a K2 as a counterpart. He can only exist with Cassian on the field. There's actually, completely unrelated, but they've spoiled it in one of the pilot packs. There's finally going to be a K2SO pilot card for the U-Wing for X-Wing 2. His subtitle is Cassian Told Me to Do It, or Cassian Told Me So. So, of course, that's how that combo would come out, right? Like, he would be an optional attached unit to your squad, which is super great. I love it. But there's just so many interesting things you can do with this, right? Like, if you ever thought there was a unit who'd be like, oh, there's no way X would appear without Y, right? Like, you could do so much to it. For instance, you could have Hera as a cheap commander, relatively cheap commander, like I've said before. Like, some people have talked about how Leia's really good, but she's not. Some of her command cards and abilities don't mesh with vehicles. Hera would be a good example of, like, she's probably not going to cost much more and have much better attacks and options than, say, Leia would, but Hera's a great pilot and known to be, like, a vehicle trainer and a vehicle operator. And she does eventually rise to general rank, so it would make sense that she might have command cards or other abilities that synergize with vehicles, you know? You could release Kanan as a counterpart for her, because, especially early on in Rebels, Kanan doesn't really do rebellion-y type stuff without Hera, like, planning a mission. Like, Kanan's not necessarily going to show up on his own on the battlefield unless, like I said, like, Hera's doing a thing. Or you could do, like, young Ezra as a counterpart to Kanan, and then do older Ezra as, like, his own standalone operative or something, kind of thing, you know? Like, there's a lot of options for the future of the game, and I know some people are like, oh, you're going to re-release so many. Well, you know, they're like, this lets you do different sculpts and do different ways that these units can have different mechanics, while not necessarily selling you the same product over and over again, right? Especially, like I said, like, Kanan, Ezra, like, a lot of those Rebels guys have different looks throughout the different seasons. Like, they have a couple different models. So this is a very interesting way to, like, stick them around and do different stuff. Alright, well, that's about everything. This video is super long now, because of the rules update. So I'll basically wind it down now. Alright, so I rambled way too long there on the ROG section, but hey, it's how it is. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go really quick before this video gets turned into an hour. I do really want to make, like, an urgent update. While I was in the process of getting this recorded, FFG dropped an article that was the official article for all the new Clone Wars stuff they announced at Gen Con, so I will go through all that in a separate video. Don't you worry if you're interested in that. I'll cover a lot of that later, and that kind of solves some stuff. answer some questions you may have had about certain things going on. So don't worry, we'll still talk about that. Stay tuned for that video. I don't know if it'll be up at the same time as this one, or it'll be offset or whatever, but I'm going to take a quick break and shoot it after I'm done with this one. So it's a very exciting time for Legion. Stay tuned for more stuff. They did say that there will be possibly some more stuff along the lines of like the Vader and Luke operatives announced and detailed for the rest of this year. I know some people are like, holiday season seems a little light. Other people are like, dude, holiday season's light, yay. And, you always got to think that, like, Legion is not a standalone, right? Like, Fantasy Flight owns X-Wing and Armada 2, right? Like, and those have some big releases finally churning out after a while. Anyway, if you like this video, give it a like. If you have any comments, your own thoughts. If you happen to own a copy of Shoretroopers and can tell me the actual cost of the mortar unit, leave those in the comment section down below. Or if you have another image. If you have any thoughts about counterparts or any other new rule stuff that kind of jumped out at you, go ahead and let me know. In the comments, you can also join our Discord. Links in the description, as always. And if you're new here, stay tuned. Subscribe to our channel so you can always get our latest videos. You can get all kinds of stuff that we put out. Like I said, get that future Clone Wars video. And if you haven't already, even if you're subscribed, considering that bell for notifications so you always know when we post a new video. And like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. It really helps us out, and you get access to content. You can get access to content early and other things. Or just, show us you appreciate us. Give me a buck. Okay. I will see you guys in the next video. Everybody, stay strong, relax at the beach, and do remember your beach umbrella because there are mortars. All right. Later, everybody.